Hey, how's it going there, everybody? Today we're going to talk about my political minefield, how I got here, and how I gave my family the ammunition to use the police against me. Okay, so my story starts off. I'm in the graduating class of 2004 from Tiverton High School. Anybody that knows my personal story knows that back in those days, I was pinned in the middle of a pretty gnarly divorce with my family. Um, I was the only kid going on visitation. I was the only kid getting child support and whatnot. But I was often placed as monkey in the middle. At the same time, I would be working 3 to 9 at Grand Central Market, Dunkin' Donuts, stuff like that, like average teenagers do. I would also be trying to maintain a social agenda with my friends, as well as be forced to go to things like confirmation class and slash or visitation with my biological father. Um, so if you can imagine, for a young pubescent male, it was a very difficult and confusing time all around. My guidance counselor, Mr. Rujo at Tiverton High School, was very aware of a lot of the situations that I was put in the middle of at home, as I would often go to her office thinking that she was some kind of mental health facilitator because she was a counselor, right? And I didn't know any better. Um, but either way, God bless you, Mr. Rujo. Thank you. Um, so back then, if you were to get in trouble at our high school, the first course of action would be to go to the assistant principal's office. When we first started high school, my assistant principal was Mr. Fizette. Mr. McKinnon here was our phys ed teacher, and very well at that. We all got along with them. We had a perfect, normal student teacher relationship at that point. He had got promoted to assistant principal, which means that now it was his first year dealing with problematic students like me, coming in front of him for disciplinary actions and whatnot. And in that, we would get into heated uh, conversations and arguments in his office about whatever either one of us thought the facts may be about whatever incident that happened and whatever the disciplinary outcome was inevitably going to be. Um, as going through what I was going through, and I wasn't right, and Principal McKinnon, in hindsight, I've talked to my wife about it before, and I apologize. Back in those days, I used to, like, the man had like a problem with his eye, and I'd be like making fun of him, trying to like provoke him and calling him Mr. Macaque instead of Mr. McKinnon, right? And if I remember correctly, there was a day that I like blew all the stuff off his desk or something like that, and getting mad at him, you know what I mean, and storming out of school, taking my suspension and leaving. At the time, being a youngster, the same way I didn't really know what a guidance counselor was, I had absolutely no idea who this man was in relation to our community, how or why he got promoted from phys ed teacher to assistant principal, and jumped over a bunch of teachers and whatnot. I had absolutely no idea. So we're going on 16, 17 years old. Me and my friends, we get our licenses and whatnot. And obviously, back in those days, it's illegal still. But, we're all smoking weed after school. We're hanging out, we go to our jobs, and stuff like this. And we're living like normal teenagers. Um, Pull up the next one here. Oh, I didn't crop this bad, Jackson. Let us get you cropped. There you are. So this would be Principal McKinnon's brother. So he's a longtime member of our local Tiverton police force, and because of that, he is duly respected. Um, so sadly, for me, when I would go ahead, picking on this guy and calling him Mr. Macaque and things of this nature, he would obviously, go back, be telling his own twin brother here because that's his twin. Some of the hardships that he was facing with his new promotion at work and whatnot, and therefore, we had this officer as well as a couple other ones that have gotten themselves famous in later times. That would be waiting outside the high school for me and my friends, knowing just who we were, so that they could pull us over and whatnot, and really kind of mess with us. Now, back then, it was getting to the point where this was so well known that my biological father and my stepmother would make jokes when I'd go on visitation. Right, I'd show up with my used car that I had at the time, and they would make jokes. You might as well just stop by the police station in the morning and pick up your ticket for the day, right? Because I was getting that many. Um, my insurance went crazy, um, right? But yeah, so it was a true thing, right? And back then, we didn't really understand it. We didn't know it. After I graduated and stuff, I had learned of the family connection, and I learned of my big oopsie. But at that point, I had already been dropped off at the homeless shelter. I'd already become an addict. Life was difficult for me. I didn't know how to do stuff like make these videos. I didn't know, I'd call out to lawyers on Google randomly, and they would agree that there was something there, but they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm not the guy to, take the case." And I would think that they would just be afraid of any kind of like retaliations or whatever for trying to go up against a uh, police force. Um, so these kinds of behaviors at the Tiverton High School um, are not isolated. Later on, we fast forward about 20 years, right? And I've known about this, right? And you figure that maybe it was just isolated to us. Maybe right, other students aren't treated like this. Maybe my friends were getting pulled over as much because they were, guilty by association, being my friend and whatnot. And years and years later, this case pops open, right? And everybody I think in Tiverton knows about this case. I don't have to go over it. But the thing that really came up particular on this particular case is that if you see here, this was by I think the same publication being I think this was News Channel 10. Can we take a look? I think it was Channel 10. Can I grab the photo like I did before? No, it's trying to grab the ones that are stacked behind it. Okay, I think this one was Channel 10. Um, but the particular thing about this case is that you see that he makes comment on, do you really want to mess with someone that can mess with your driving record, that can dock or deck your driving record? There's two different publications. That one there says deck, and this one here it says as dock. You can dock your driving record, right? Or it might be vice versa, um, right? As well as if you look at the bottom paragraphs, this one here says there was a concern for my daughter and other students involved as they were threatened and felt afraid of retaliation. So the SRO is a police officer, right? And retaliation, and where's the retaliation going to come from? Um, this one here also states that was it this one? No, this one here. This one here is from staff members of the school claiming fear of retaliation as well if they stepped forward with information, and in particular from a principal figure. Um, right? Later on in life, we would go to see on, I don't have the screenshot, but on change.org, there was a petition to get this principle removed. It had over 200 signatures when I had seen it. Um, so there seems to be a lot of retaliation, a lot of repetitive talk about retaliation, a lot of repetitive incidents of students getting their, driving records either docked up, decked up, or threatened to get docked up or decked up. I am right. If you look back at my driving record, that which can be subpoenaed, you'll see, and you'll see the officers that I make mention are repeat, and you'll see that they just happen to be right. I only speed when I'm around these cops, apparently, right, and I only got tail license plate lights out when I'm around these cops, apparently, and it's just a short and it's a five, a quick check and a warning, but they're sitting there all up in my car, right, and sniffing around, trying to find a reason. It'd be like, "Oh, step out of the vehicle, step out of the vehicle. I smell marijuana." You see what I mean? And now, if you look back on how many times we would get busted with marijuana back in those days, I mean, for how many people on average smoke it? And in Tiverton, our age bracket, for how many kids? How the hell are we getting busted that many times? And nobody else in my graduating class is getting busted that many times, right? And then you'd see a particular group, right? And you see targeted individuals, right? And that's what I'm getting at here. Targeted individuals. If you've ever seen the show Making a Murderer, I'm trying to relate this story to Making an Addict, right? And why recidivism rates are so incredibly high. Now, Also, unlucky for me, you guys know about my um, current family information, and on a quick public search um, on Been Verified, without paying for it, we're going to be able to see that Mr. McKinnon here, Officer McKinnon, he lives in on View Drive in Little Compton. Um, Anybody that knows my mom's current long-term boyfriend, Les Hallworth, and whatnot, I would just like to make mention here. If you look down at the bottom, his last known address before the house he's living in now with my mom uh, would be next door neighbors. Next door neighbors. How incredibly unfortunate for Brian, right? Now, if you see the correlation between in the videos that I've been making, right, and why this has now become very, very interesting. There's an actor out there, and not actor. There's a motivational speaker named Andrew Tate, and he talks about an experiment that involved a containment area filled with monkeys, and they put a ball at the top, and every time the monkeys crawled up to the top, they got sprayed with water, and eventually they were taught not to go after the ball. Eventually, they took out one monkey and they replaced it with a brand new monkey. The brand new monkey would climb the ladder and go and try to get the ball, and all the other monkeys would flip out and start grabbing it, pulling it down. No, 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 don't go after that ball. We're all going to get sprayed with water, right? So that monkey eventually learns, right, not to go after the ball because all of his monkey peers don't want him to do it. They eventually repeat the process and take out one monkey and replace it with a fresh monkey until all the monkeys in the containment area have never been sprayed with the hose, but all of them will not go after the ball at the top because they've been taught by the monkeys before them that the ball is bad. In this situation, I am the ball, and the Tiverton police are the monkeys, right? And I don't know who controls the water, but you see the analogy that I'm making here, okay? Now, the fact that they come from Little Compton are from Little Compton and stuff, I would just like to also point out in the local news right now, we have Little Compton fiscal clerk arrested for embezzlement, um, right? And who is she enabled, protected by, and whatnot, right? And of course, it's the police chief, right? So everybody, small town, right? They're all out for that clout. They're all out for that power, right? You can't mess with me. My husband's town council, right? Everybody knows who I am in this small town. I'm a big fish in a small pond, right? Um, so this is what I'm trying to make awareness on right now, right? And this is what everybody's after. Everybody's after embezzling money off something. And if you're going to see that a lot of the political figures that we're going to be talking about in this channel, all are going to have their hands in developing something, right? Um, and we're going to see that to be an ongoing thing, I repeat, in which we're going to talk about in later episodes. But I hope you guys see the correlation and are starting to put the puzzle pieces together of why and what's been happening, how it's been happening, and why it's been happening with me. Stay tuned for more videos. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.